Welcome back to Fun Facts Online. Today we are diving deep into the single most complex and controversial number in the global economy, the price of a prescription drug. In March 2024, the pharmaceutical world hit a staggering new milestone. The FDA approved Lenmeldy, a gene therapy for a rare pediatric disease known as metachromatic leukodystrophy. The price tag for a single dose was set at $4.25 million. This broke the previous record held by Hemgenix and signaled a new era where a few milliliters of liquid can cost more than a luxury estate. To the casual observer, these numbers feel arbitrary, even fictitious. But the answer to why drugs cost what they cost lies in a dense, opaque web of economics involving laboratories, boardrooms, and legislative chambers. To understand this $4 million figure, we have to start with Part 1, the economics of creation. The pharmaceutical industry is unique because its primary product is not a physical good, but information. The cost to manufacture a chemical tablet is often negligible, mere pennies. The price you pay is for the knowledge that this specific molecule, in this specific dose, will cure you rather than kill you. Industry groups and analysts, like Deloitte, estimate that bringing a single new drug to market costs approximately $2.23 billion. While critics argue this number is inflated by marketing budgets and opportunity costs, the mechanics of failure are undeniable. This is known as the Valley of Death. For every 5,000 to 10,000 compounds that enter the discovery pipeline, only about 250 make it to preclinical testing. Of those, only 5 enter human clinical trials, and of those 5, only 1 is approved by the FDA. This leads to the portfolio model of pricing. The revenue from that one successful drug must cover the costs of the thousands of failures that came before it. If a company spends $1 billion on 10 projects and 9 fail, the 10th one has to recoup the entire $10 billion investment. Furthermore, time is the enemy. A patent typically lasts 20 years from the filing date, but drug development takes 10 to 12 years. By the time a drug actually hits pharmacy shelves, the manufacturer often has only 8 to 10 years of exclusivity left to earn back that multi-billion-dollar investment before generics arrive. This creates a sprint mentality, driving aggressive launch prices, especially for drugs treating rare diseases or chronic conditions where revenue is predictable. But high research costs are only half the story. If you ask a manufacturer why prices are high, they point to R&D. If you look at the financial statements, however, you find Part 2, the gross to net bubble. In the United States, there are 2 prices for every drug. First is the list price, or the sticker price set by the manufacturer. Second is the net price, which is what the manufacturer actually keeps after paying rebates and fees. Over the last decade, list prices have skyrocketed, while net prices have remained flat. The difference is being swallowed by the middlemen known as pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. The 3 largest PBMs, CVS Caremark, Express Scripts, and Optum Rx, control 80% of the market. They act as gatekeepers. They tell drug makers that if they want their drug covered by insurance, they must pay a rebate. This creates an inflationary spiral. To protect their margins while paying these massive rebates, drug makers raise the list price. The PBMs then demand larger rebates from that higher price to show savings to their clients, the insurance companies. The loser in this game is the patient. This is because coinsurance and deductibles are often based on the inflated list price, not the discounted net price. In some bizarre cases, a patient's copay can actually be higher than the net cost of the drug to the insurer. PBMs also engage in spread pricing, where they might charge a health plan $50 for a generic drug but only reimburse the pharmacy $10, pocketing the $40 difference. This brings us to Part 3, the patent fortress. A patent is a government-granted monopoly designed to reward innovation. However, companies often manipulate this system to extend that monopoly indefinitely, a practice known as evergreening. Take Humira, the world's best-selling drug for years. The main patent expired in 2016, yet competitors didn't arrive until 2023. The manufacturer filed over 130 ancillary patents, covering tiny details like the manufacturing process and the firing mechanism of the injection pen. This creates a patent thicket that makes it legally impossible for competitors to enter the market. In other instances, brand-name companies have paid generic manufacturers to delay their launch, a tactic called pay-for-delay. Sometimes, as a patent nears expiration, a company will slightly modify the drug and aggressively switch patients to the new version, rendering the incoming generic obsolete before it even arrives. Now, we must look at the future, specifically Part 4, the biologic revolution. We are moving from small chemical pills to biologics and gene therapies. This shifts the economic model entirely. Traditional drugs are rented. You take a pill every day. Gene therapies like Lenmeldy are bought. You take them once, and you are potentially cured for life. This creates the one-and-done problem. The U.S. healthcare system is not built for massive upfront payments. An insurer might pay $4 million for a cure today, but the patient might switch jobs and insurers next year. The first insurer pays the cost, while the second insurer reaps the financial benefit of a healthy patient. This is leading to new payment models like annuity payments, essentially a mortgage for drugs, or outcome-based pricing, where the manufacturer only gets paid if the drug actually works. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the GLP-1 tsunami, with drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro. These are treatments for mass-market conditions like obesity. The challenge here is volume. Even if the price is negotiated down, the sheer number of eligible patients could bankrupt state Medicaid budgets and spike insurance premiums. This tension brings us to Part 5, the regulatory hammer. For decades, the U.S. government was forbidden from negotiating Medicare drug prices. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 changed that. Medicare is now authorized to negotiate prices for high-spend drugs. In 2026, prices for the first 10 drugs will be negotiated, followed by 15 more in 2027. The Congressional Budget Office estimates this will save the government nearly $100 billion over a decade. The industry argues this isn't negotiation but price fixing, warning it could lead to a nuclear winter for R&D investment. Another critical component of the act is the inflation rebate. If a drug company raises prices faster than the rate of inflation, they must pay a penalty to Medicare. This effectively puts a speed limit on the annual price hikes that used to be standard practice. Finally, let's look at Part 6, the global context. Why does the U.S. pay roughly 4.2 times more for brand-name drugs than other wealthy nations? The primary reason is the difference between free markets and price controls. Countries like the UK, France, and Germany use health technology assessment bodies. In the UK, NICE calculates the value of a drug based on quality-adjusted life years. If the price is too high for the benefit provided, the government simply says no. The U.S. lacks a central body with that power. Proponents of the U.S. system argue that American prices effectively subsidize global innovation. Because profits are so high in the U.S., companies can afford to sell cheaper in Europe. The argument is that if the U.S. adopted European pricing, global research funding would collapse. Paradoxically, the U.S. is actually better than most countries at using cheap generics, which make up 90% of prescriptions. The spending crisis is driven almost entirely by that remaining 10% of brand-name drugs. As we look toward 2025 and beyond, several trends will define the landscape. The rise of biosimilars, cheaper versions of complex biologic drugs, could save the system billions as patents expire. Artificial intelligence promises to cut the cost and time of drug discovery, potentially lowering the barrier to entry, though it remains to be seen if those savings will be passed to the consumer. And reforms to the 340B discount program are looming. In conclusion, the economics of pharmaceutical pricing is a battle between two valid truths. Truth 1. Developing drugs is an incredibly risky, expensive endeavor that requires massive capital incentives. Truth 2. A life-saving drug is worthless if the patient cannot afford it. Resolving the tension between these truths requires piercing the veil of the gross-to-net bubble, realigning the incentives of middlemen, and finding a way to reward innovation without exploiting the sick. That is the state of the industry today. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.